What's going on, collectors? Welcome into Ross Loves Cards. Today, before I get into showing you my new project that I'm working on, thought I would do a little correcting. When I done my Strongsville recap, I left some people out on thank yous that I remembered soon or shortly after I stopped the phone. My first sorry and thank you. Sorry this is a week late, but thank you for this. Was to Brent Richards and developing this picture, this card from the negative. I don't understand how any of that stuff works, but I do appreciate you doing good work because I do love this. I think Jeff and Brent, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't think of your name. I could hum along your intro to your videos. And, I got to thinking, well, Richards and Steve Richards. And, well, if you don't know, that's a wrestler's name. But anyways, so sorry for leaving you out of that. But I do thank you for an awesome card for an awesome reason. I will treasure that card in my collection as long as I'm still living. But I also want to thank Matt Straight Race Cards and Rusty at Rusty Vintage Cards. I mentioned about me leaving, Mike dropping me off at the airport on, I guess, Sunday morning. I was waiting there. I just came back from getting me a water. And I was going to get me a water. By the way, if you didn't know, I'm on a cane, so got some mobility issues. They pushed me where I needed to be with my wheelchair, so I got out and hobbled with my cane over to get me a water and coffee. And I was fixing to order that water and coffee, and I thought, well, if I've got a cane, how am I going to hold a water and a coffee? So I had to skip my coffee. But anyways, my phone rang, and it was Rusty, wanted to know where I was at. And I told him, and they said, well, we're at the gate right beside you, him and Matt. And I said, well, meet up and eat some breakfast. So you know what, that sounded awesome. Then we couldn't find anything, close to me that was open. But Matt, he took off hoofing it and went down. He found a Starbucks, and I think he came back. I'm pretty sure he did. He came back and got our order and went down again. I sure appreciate Rusty for calling and inviting me to breakfast. I sure appreciate Matt going and getting my coffee and bringing it back. And I sure enjoyed our conversation we had before we loaded up on airplanes going our different directions. Each one of us going a different way. We got to have a conversation and our breakfast that morning together. So it was a special time and special memory for me. But today, I was going to talk a little bit about my George Brett and Robin Yount collection that I've just started. I've always been a KC fan, kind of can't help but like George Brett. And just here recently, I've been, I heard getting into the whole, Kyle, I apologize, Kyle from Collecting America's Pastime, he's interviewing people with their favorite introductory years to the Hall of Fame. And when he had Mike Moynihan on, by the way, it was a great episode. They talked about the year that George Brett, Robin Yount, and Nolan Ryan got inducted to the Hall of Fame. And, Mike, he mentioned about how he thought it was cool how the rookie year for Brett and Yount was the same year. Their last year of baseball was the same. The 93 was their last year. They have the 94 card. But so they both had their first rookie full season in, I guess that would be 1984. The rookie card's 1985. Then retired the same year. But both 3,000 hitters. I can't remember if that was the same year or apart, but both had 3,000 hits. So connection there. And, I just thought that was cool. They started the same, ended the same. And I was reading a book my best friend recommended. He's a huge George Brett fan, and he recommended this book, Last of Breed. George Brett actually writes the last chapter in this awesome book for pictures, if nothing else. The words are just great, but the pictures is awesome. And it told a story that went something like this, that said George Brett was there, had 2 lockers, and said they was all a mess. And he reached out a card, and it's Carl Yastrzemski, and the person he was talking to, he showed it to him. And he said, you know what, looky right here. Look what it says here on the back. Boston, 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 Boston. He said, you know, that's an amazing thing for one man to go through his whole career at one team. And later on, Brett mentioned that was one of his greatest achievements, was being able to play for the same team his whole career. And you know, I thought that was awesome. By the way, I bought my only Carl Yastrzemski card I have, 1972. You might be thinking, Ross, did you just buy that because it's cheap? Well, yes, I did. But there's another reason. That was the second quality I was looking for. The first quality was, you look at the back of the card, and it has Boston, Boston, Boston. Now, it does have his minor league up here, but all of his regular leagues. It was one of the only cards, but a lot of his cards said Red Sox instead of Boston. So anyways, that's the reason I picked it. It's got so many Bostons down through there. And you know what? Thinking about Brett and Yount, starting the same year, retiring the same year, getting inducted in the Hall of Fame the same year together, the same year as one another. You know what I'm saying there? That is just awesome. Being able to play for the same team that whole time. Not only do you have to be good enough that they want you there, you also have to have a level head enough to not get mad and try to get traded and leave. And both of them, yeah, there's something to be said for longevity. I absolutely, you know, loyalty, longevity, you know, that's just one of them things. It's just awesome. And I appreciate that. I appreciate players that stay at the same team. There's a lot of players out there that don't have the opportunity to. There's a lot of players out there that don't want to. And sometimes they just age out and have to go somewhere else. But it started the idea for this binder. This is the George Brett and Robin Yount Topps binder. Now keep in mind, I don't have every one of these cards. I'm far from it. I think I was wanting 40 to a set, and I was wanting 42 to complete this set. And, you know, I think I've got 10 in here. So I've got room for growth, but that's okay. I want to start by showing this, my first binder page. I think that just looks awesome. Here, we'll start right here looking at these two together. You know, I can't help it, but I was watching Double D, and he started talking. He said, you know, I wouldn't mind having a whole binder of these. And I thought, boy, that's cool. And he said, you know, I don't have to get grades above a 6 anymore. You know, he said, I'll buy 5s and 6s if they got the right look to them. And then, you know, he started showing them pages, and I tell you what, me being a Brett fan, I just couldn't hardly take it. And then, you know, the more I learned about Yount, well, this had to be me. I had to start this collection. But, sorry. Anyways, here's the 2 top cards. And I guess I can take them out of this binder. These, I won't take the others out. But, looking at these. You know, both of these cards, I got them in SGC 5s. This one I got from my good buddy Mike, Jayhawker Mike as I call him, when he was having his sale. Sorry, I got this card from him, and you know, every time I see it, I think of him and that Jayhawker sticker he sent with me that we had I was going to say sacrificial burning, but we burn it anyways. We wasn't sacrificed. No, we didn't. I gave it to my boy, but I got this from him, and it's a sure special card for me. Not just who the player is, but who I got it from. This one. So I started out with an SGC 5. Look how centered it is. That's one of the main things I was looking for. Then I got this Robin Yount here, SGC 5. Well centered, good looking card. I was pleased with that. You know, some people have been tired of me texting pictures of Brett and Yount that I get side by side, but if you are, don't tell me. I just don't want my feelings hurt. But anyways, I can't help but show some of these cards off. And anyways, I had the Brett and Yount. The next thing I wanted a mini. Now, the Topps minis, for some reason, I don't know if it's because they're smaller, for me it's hard to find one centered. And sure enough, as I was cruising through YouTube one time, Dylan at Double D Vintage Cards, said he was selling a card. And he was going to be selling that on CIA auctions. And he said it was a card that he loved, been on his wall, but it's time to move on from it. He got it from Chris from Missouri. Well, I looked at it and it was a centered 3. And anyways, I left in the comment, Dylan, I'm going to try to bring that back home to Missouri. You know, George Brett playing in Kansas City, Missouri. Him getting it from Chris from Missouri. It needs to come to Ross in Missouri. So anyways, I told him I was going to try, and he told me good luck on it. And, you know, I kind of tried doing some comping on what that thing was worth. And to me, I was thinking, you know, realistically, probably at a show, I'd see it $65. That's where I was thinking, I don't know. You never see them, so I didn't know. $65 to $75. And, you know, buying at CIA auctions, they've got a 15% charge, and then, of course, the $7 shipping. But I got to figuring, I thought, you know, I really want that, and say if it's worth $60, I want to make sure I get that. So I went ahead and told my wife to go ahead and bid it up to $80. And after the 15% charge, it'd bring it to $92, and $7, I'd be at $99. So anyways, we put it in at $80, and we sat and watched that auction for another 7-8 days, however long we'd bid on it. And I was the high bidder from the day we put our bid in up until that last night. And, you know, I kept checking it. It was like at 40, 42, then at 50. Then that day it went from 60 to 75. And then like an hour or two before it closed, it went to 80. Sorry about that, guys. Had some, well, I'll just be honest. My wife had called in from her work phone, and I thought, well, if she's calling from work, it must be pretty important. So anyways, had to take a phone call. I'm back with you. And I was telling you all that I'd bid 80. And I say me and my wife, because my wife handles all my electronic stuff and payment of stuff. And but we bid 80 on that card. And it got to 80, and we was watching it. And I tell you what, it's an awkward deal to be buying somebody's card you know in an auction. I'm one of them deals the whole time. Well, I'm hoping I get it as cheap as I can, but also I'm wanting him to get as much money as he can out of it. So, you know, I was kind of, you know, cheering him on, kind of thinking, boy, I think this, you know, I'd be happy if this is what he got out of it. And sure enough, the last hour, nobody had bid on it. They may have thought the other guy had lost his mind, but I don't think so. I mean, look at this thing. This thing is awesomely centered. You compare that to my full-sized Brett. I mean, you know, pretty comparable on centering. If you have a guy that could work them on a camera, I think those cards just go awesome together. And in my binder, I've got them stacked up, one on top of the other, and couldn't be happier with this card. By the way, I highly recommend CIA auctions. Easy process. They keep up with you. You know, they say, hey, you won. Congrats. We sent them the money, and they said, we'll send you printing label, whatever. Next thing you know, a few days later, your card gets to you just as it was pictured. It was an awesome experience for me. That's how my experience went anyways. Really appreciate it, working with them. And so, you know, when I got this bought, I had to go get me a Yount. I've got a little bit of OCD. I know this is a 5 and this is a 3, which you can notice again with the centering. So whenever I buy a Brett, I have to turn around and buy a Yount for this collection. It's just the way it goes. Eventually, I will collect more than just the Topps, but I'm wanting to get the Topps run done in SGC or PSA. But anyways, I thought, man, that thing's going to be so cool. I get it in. And anyways, I get that in. I get it put in my binder. And to be honest, I never noticed this until I got in the binder. These two cards are different colors. You can tell it just looks, you know, just the orange isn't the same quality it is on this one. But hey, you know what? I never noticed that until I bought this mini, so, you know, it's good enough for me. I like the coloring on the mini up better, of course, but this too is such a great card. I'm glad to have it in my Brett and Yount Topps binder. Let me get this put in here and I'll show you another page or two. Well, I guess one more page, and I've got other 2 cards. I'm going to show you all my favorite 2 80 sets. That's right here. Sorry, that was probably horrible lighting at work. But anyways, it is right here. The 86 and 87 Topps. These are Topps Tiffany, by the way. Sorry, I don't know if I can get that centered in. Topps Tiffany. I'm not sure. I'm going with 8s. 8s on the 86s, I guess. And 9s on the 87s. But, you know, just looking at that. That's just awesome. You got them kind of facing in, looking towards one another. And the 85, I'm sorry, 86. I don't know if I've been saying 85 or not. The 86. But I just love them Topps Tiffany. And then here we got them both batting. I tell you, that's just an awesome picture. I may be overselling them. I love the 86s and 87s. But George Brett and Robin Yount. Yep. But anyways, that is something else, you know. Down here at the bottom, we got one from the left side of the plate and one from the right side of the plate. I'll show you the backs as well, because I'm about empty them into the floor. The Topps Tiffany's, I like the backs as well as I do the fronts. It just brings it up that much of a level. Especially on these 87s. I love how they're white with the yellow. They look just worlds better to me. But in these cards, I do want to get them graded. Generally, you know, if it's an 80s, I want it at least an 8. Or if it's a 90s, I would like to have it a 9. When you get into the 80s, late 80s and early 90s, you kind of run into some people didn't get these cards graded for value reasons, and I can understand that. Or I assume that's a reason. But I'll go ahead and show you the other set I have. Yeah, the other pair I have. The 1989 Topps. And these are both Tiffany's in a 9. But I absolutely love these. You know, just the Tiffany's in general. But my Brett and Yount collection. I have to thank Dylan again for getting me turned on to the The binder projects, I absolutely love binders. I love putting them in. I love seeing a page completed. You know, it's just something special for collecting for me. Oh, I forgot. The 84 Topps Supers, if you didn't notice, on the front. Yeah. I was going to put, you know, I'll get them put on a page, and a single page, and kind of put them up, and, you know, put Brett and Yount. And then they got in. I didn't realize how big the Supers were. I mean, I looked at the measurements, but it just wasn't computing in my head. And I thought, well, I can't fit them 2 cards on a piece of paper. But you know what? Turned out, I tried this the day before yesterday. I tried this, and they fit just like this. So that was awesome for me. So that's my Topps Brett and Yount collection. I do want to, like I said, thank everybody again. From Brent Richards to Matt to Rusty and to Dylan Double D for inspiring me to start my own binders and make my rules for whatever I want them to be. But I hope you all are out there, whether it's in a binder or shoe boxes or however you like to display or store your cards. I hope you're finding the way that fits you the best and enjoying the process. We hope to see you all the next time. Thanks.